Hey guys, Becky here, FiveTwoBaker. Welcome back to my channel. So this is part 2 of our painting series. We're going to be painting again on white fondant, dark fondant, white ganache, and buttercream, but we'll be using color dust with cocoa butter. I can't wait to show you guys how it looks, so let's get right to it. So to set this up, you need a bowl with hot water and a plate over it. The purpose of the hot water and the plate is to have something warm for your cocoa butter to sit on. At room temperature, cocoa butter is solid and you can't really paint with that. You want it to be liquid, and that liquid is going to mix in with your color dust. You just set your color dust all around the plate, and you will take a little bit of cocoa butter to each color to make a thick acrylic-like paint. Now, when you're using color dust, I recommend to use a higher quality color dust, and you'll notice later the difference between a high quality color and a cheaper color that you might come across. The colors that I'm using on this white fondant are all relatively more expensive, higher quality food color dust, and I love them because the color is so solid. It's very true to the color that the bottle says it is, and it's very smooth. Everything dilutes. I don't have any problem with bumps or clumps or any of that. The fondant that I'm painting on is at room temperature, so the color is just going on so smooth. If it were cold, everything would almost seize up too quickly and I wouldn't be able to finish each of my petals. So I prefer to paint with fondant that has been sitting out on the counter for just a bit and is not too cold, because I need time to blend all the colors and get all of my paintings just right. Now, when you're painting with color dust and cocoa butter, another thing you want to keep in mind is just the way the cocoa butter will set at room temperature. Your brush has cocoa butter on it, so you want to keep it on the hot plate so that it stays warm and your brush doesn't get stiff on you. You'll also need multiple brushes for each color because it's not as easy and as time efficient to just keep using the same brush over and over again. Now with dark fondant, if you remember from the last video, the color did not show as well with gel food colors because they are more translucent. Because the color dust is more of an acrylic paint, it is more opaque, and so the color pops a lot more even when I'm using the dark purple against a dark blue fondant. Now you can always brighten up your colors by adding some white to them, or by painting in some white where the flower will go and then painting the truer darker color on top. But even if you just left it dark on dark, the color shows, I think, a million times better than with gel food colors. Now, all of these colors so far are higher quality in my opinion. Now I'll be painting over with a white, which is just something that I picked up off Amazon, and it came in a huge bundle, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's so cheap, I need to pick it up. Well, now I understand why it's so cheap. If you can't see the bumps on it, now you'll be able to see the bumps on it in the end. Another thing that I really enjoy about the cocoa butter and color dust is that they layer on top of each other, and they set, each layer sets, so you get more of a three-dimensional type look, and so the picture really pops a lot. You also get to color in more edges. It's almost like a paintbrush version of spatula painting that you can create by layering these colors, and I think that's really pretty. Now with my white ganache, this came straight out of the fridge, and it was in the fridge overnight, so it is super, super cold, and you'll see now what I'm referring to with saying that you don't want it to be super, super cold. This center is setting almost immediately, so even my brush is setting super quick. The cocoa butter on my brush is getting hard, and I have to keep rubbing it against the hot plate to get it warmed up again. I also am not able to finish full entire flower petals here because it's setting and it's getting hard before I can even get to the bottom. I can't finish fully painting. Now that's my own fault. I should have waited for the ganache to come to room temperature a little bit more, and it still would have been fine because ganache sets pretty stiff, so I wouldn't have had a problem painting. But because it's really hard, it's great that it dries fast, but it's drying too quickly for my painting. I need more time personally. But the color takes beautifully. It's a solid color and it pops really well. It doesn't bead up the way it would with a water-based paint. It's fat on fat and it loves that. Now buttercream is a little bit tricky. This is Italian meringue buttercream because that's the buttercream that I use and consume the most. And you want it to be really hard. Again, this set overnight in the fridge. So painting on it is a little trickier because it sets super quick, but the color is really beautiful if you can get it right. You do have to go with smaller strokes because with it being buttercream, you can't just press the entire brush on there and expect it to not indent. It will move, it will indent, all of that. So you do have to be a bit of a delicate painter on here, but the paint goes beautifully because again, it's fat on fat, and so it's not going to repel the paint. Everything goes really pretty on here, but I will say this is probably more a user error. I don't enjoy painting on buttercream, and so I don't do it as often, and I think this could probably be prettier if you put more time into it than I did. But the color does take really well. And here go each of them. The white fondant, always my favorite. The dark fondant also took the color really beautifully, but as you can see the white being a little bit more cheap on there because it leaves little bumps, but the color is awesome. The ganache took a beautiful color, really solid. I just should have had it at room temperature and it would have been even smoother. And then the buttercream, it took the color really well. I just need to work on my buttercream painting. Alright guys, hopefully you found that helpful. As always, if you have any questions, do drop them down in the comments below and I'll make sure to get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I would super appreciate that. And I will see you guys next time.